The magical story begins with a lady named Lawrence, who is walking into a house. The door is opened by an old woman who asks Lawrence if she's ready. Lawrence nods her head and walks inside. She enters a room where many people are seated, preparing to perform a ritual. Candles are placed in front of each person, and they all join hands to complete the process. Suddenly, a lady appears, wearing a mask on her face. She grabs a crow and kills it. Afterward, she places the dead body of the crow in a jar and begins chanting some spells. Within moments, the crow's body starts to decompose, and strange, smoky things begin to emerge from it, startling everyone present. Soon after, as the ritual nears completion, the candle in front of one lady goes out. At that very moment, she sees her deceased daughter, who had died years ago from the influenza virus. The lady is overjoyed to see her daughter after so many years and begins to cry. However, Lawrence enters and pulls out a boy who was wearing the lady's daughter's mask. This is why she had seen the shadow of her daughter. Lawrence immediately tells everyone to stand up, revealing that this is a scam, not a ritual that allows communication with the dead. At Lawrence's call, several police officers arrive and arrest the culprits. When the old woman's mask is removed, it is revealed that the person was actually a man running illegal businesses based on superstitions. He had cleverly switched the dead crow with a real one to trick people into believing that he could communicate with the dead. All these magical tricks had been planned in advance. Lawrence has the criminals arrested and reveals that this was her work, exposing superstitions among people. This all began when the influenza virus started spreading everywhere, and after that, people in England became increasingly focused on ghosts and superstitions. Many businessmen and individuals exploited this by taking money from others. Hence, Lawrence worked with the police to eradicate such superstitions. Lauren believed that there was no such thing as ghosts and spirits, and that they were just a human illusion. She had written several books on this subject, which had a large fan following. One day, a man named Robert arrived at Lauren's house, holding a book of hers that she had recently published. Lauren immediately signed the book, thinking Robert was a fan. But Robert explained that he didn't understand anything Lauren said and that her point of view was completely different from his. Robert had come to tell Lauren something happening at his school. He was actually a teacher at a school that catered to orphan children. A few years ago, a child had gone missing from the school, and to this day, no one had found any trace of him. However, recently, several people had seen the spirit of that child, and Robert claimed he had proof. Lauren thought it was just a joke because she didn't believe in spirits, but Robert had evidence. He showed her a group photo of all the students, and in the back, there was always an extra student whose image was blurred. This was the same child Robert was referring to, the one who had allegedly died. Lauren, who was firm in her belief that spirits didn't exist, began to wonder what this phenomenon could be. Initially, Lauren refused to help Robert, but later agreed to go with him because, as an orphan herself, she understood the pain of losing a loved one. She wanted to solve the case and prove her theories. They soon set off to visit the orphanage school. After reaching the school, Lauren and Robert met a lady named Maud, who worked there. Maud was responsible for taking care of all the children. When Lauren met Maud, Maud made it clear that she was a huge fan of Lauren. She had read all of Lauren's books, and it was Maud who had recommended Lauren to Robert, believing that Lauren could solve the entire case. Lauren went straight to meet the headmaster of the school, who welcomed her and introduced her to all the children. The children were in the dining area, enjoying their meal. Afterward, the headmaster asked Robert and Maud to show Lauren around the school so she could begin her investigation. They slowly started inspecting different areas of the school. Finally, they reached the place where the spirit of the missing child had been seen most often. No one knew if the spirit was real, or if someone was just playing a prank according to Lauren's perspective. Nearby, they found the spot where the body of the child named Walter had been discovered. When Lauren checked the area, she found a small eye, which she assumed was from Walter's toy. She took it as evidence. Afterward, Maud, the caretaker, led Lauren into a room where Malcolm, a very strict teacher, was conducting a class. The children who were in Malcolm's class were all scared of him because he had a harsh demeanor and was quick to anger. No child dared to speak back to him. A little while later, Lauren entered the class and asked the children if anyone had seen Walter's spirit. One child stood up and said that he had seen the spirit in the corridor. The spirit looked very dangerous, and its face was completely dark. After receiving this information, Lauren, along with Maud and Robert, went upstairs. It seemed like Lauren had decided to begin her investigation from this point. She had brought several advanced cameras and devices with her, setting up various tools around the area to gather evidence about the spirit. She even sprinkled powder on the floor of the upper room. This powder only became visible when light was directed on it, which would help her detect any supernatural activity. Lauren had set up her entire trap, hoping that tonight she would finally uncover what was going on. She believed that if anyone tried to escape from the school, they would eventually reveal who was behind it. Meanwhile, as all the children were sleeping, a boy named Peter became very restless. Maud went over to ask him what was bothering him since it had all started happening after Lauren arrived. She reassured Peter, telling him to try to sleep peacefully. At the same time, a boy named Tom asked Maud if Lauren would be able to fix everything. He wondered if she could really capture Walter's spirit and drive it away. Maud, trying to calm him down, assured him that there were no spirits, just some kids playing pranks. She said that Lauren would handle it and send them away once the investigation was over. Maud cleverly changed the subject, trying not to alarm the children. That night, Lauren applied all her equipment and waited, hoping for some activity. Suddenly, she heard sounds as if someone was moving nearby. She followed the sounds upstairs, and there, she saw a child running away. Lauren noticed that the footprints were visible on the powder she had spread earlier, indicating that someone was definitely there, causing trouble. She chased the child, following him to a room, where she found only a piece of clothing inside a cupboard. Additionally, she discovered some fingerprints, which could be useful for her investigation. While inspecting the room, she found a small toy house, designed to look like the layout of the school itself. As Lauren carefully examined it, she felt as though someone was watching her from behind. When she turned around, however, no one was there. Suddenly, Lauren spotted someone coming towards her with a gun. But to her relief, it was Robert, who had come to help her. At that moment, Lauren was terrified, but she reminded herself that she had dealt with even more difficult missions before. However, Lauren had never felt this way before. She was overwhelmed with negative thoughts that she knew shouldn't be there. But she ignored them for the moment and focused on finding the mischievous child the next day. To do this, she applied a strange liquid to the children's feet, knowing that whoever passed through the powder earlier would still have some of it on their feet. The liquid would cause the powder to change color, revealing who had been the culprit. After lining up all the children and applying the liquid to their feet, the powder on one boy's feet, named Perry, changed color, indicating that he was the one causing all the trouble. Lauren and Robert immediately started questioning Perry about his actions. Perry revealed that another child had forced him to do it, threatening to ruin his reputation if he didn't comply. The other child, when confronted, denied it and claimed he had no knowledge of the events. At this point, everything became clear. Before Lauren could speak further, Malcolm approached and began moving toward the child to punish him. However, Lauren stopped Malcolm and said, "Last night, I felt a strange kind of presence, and I believe it was your presence that I felt, which was also connected to the eye of Walter's toy." Lauren then revealed a truth based on her investigation. The person behind all these events was none other than Malcolm himself. The truth was, when Walter had gone outside one night without his glasses, some children had tried to scare him. Walter, being a kind-hearted boy, was already prone to heart attacks due to his condition. When he was frightened by the children, he ran to Malcolm to share his fear, but Malcolm, thinking Walter was just trying to get attention, ignored him. In doing so, Malcolm left Walter in a panic, and as a result, Walter had a heart attack and died from the shock. Since then, rumors started spreading that Malcolm had been killed by a ghost, and the school gained a lot of attention. Malcolm was in complete shock, as the truth about his actions had come to light. By not helping a child in need, Walter had lost his life, making Malcolm, in a way, responsible for his death. After everything was revealed, Malcolm was expelled from the school, and the children were given a break so they could visit their parents and relatives to relax. However, only one child remained at the school, Tom, because his parents couldn't come, and they lived far away. A few days later, Lauren, who was about to leave, was seen standing by a pond, smoking a cigarette. As she dropped her cigarette box, she quickly bent down to pick it up, when suddenly she saw a hand emerging from the water, pulling her down. Terrified, Lauren screamed and fell into the water. After a while, Robert arrived and managed to rescue her. She was quickly helped out of the water, dried off, and treated for shock. Lauren, now sitting with Tom, asked why he hadn't gone to his parents. Tom explained that his parents lived in a remote area in India, and it would take them several weeks to reach him. He also mentioned that they didn't have enough money for such a trip. Lauren, in turn, shared that she had lived in India for some time, describing it as a beautiful place with incredible nature and wildlife. Tom, curious, asked if she had ever seen a tiger there. Lauren smiled and replied, "Yes, I've seen one, and the most amazing part is that I had an encounter with one." She then reminisced about a time long ago when her parents had gone on a safari in the jungles of Africa. While her parents were in Africa, they were attacked by a dangerous lion, which nearly killed them. However, the villagers arrived just in time and saved Lauren. She even showed Tom the scar from the lion's claw, which was still present on her shoulder to this day. Tom listened intently to Lauren's story, becoming quite intrigued by her experience. Later, while Lauren was taking a shower in her room, she began to hear strange noises coming from the adjacent room. Curious, she peeked through a small hole and saw that a child was in the room, frightening her from the other side. Lauren was shocked, as Tom was the only child still at the school. She quickly dressed and went upstairs to check the room. There, she saw a child running into the room where the toy house was kept. Lauren approached the toy house and opened the door. Inside, she saw a woman, much like herself, looking inside a wardrobe. Behind her, someone was standing ominously. Lauren turned to check, but when she looked back, there was no one there. The door, however, was closing and opening by itself. This unsettling sight caused Lauren to question everything. At first, she thought the case had been solved, but now she was experiencing strange occurrences that she couldn't explain. Deeply troubled, Lauren went to Robert and Maud and explained that the investigation was far from over. There was still something unexplained in the school that needed to be discovered. Together with Robert, Lauren began setting up cameras and traps again, hoping to uncover the secrets hidden within the school. Maud then told Lauren about a place in the school that was eerily hollow. She mentioned that the entire school had originally been a house before it was transformed into a school. Intrigued, Lauren followed a deep pathway, leading her to a room where she found a doll. When she moved the doll, it made a noise, and upon closer inspection, she realized that there was a key inside it, sparking more questions about the mysteries of the school. Lauren had no idea why the doll was placed there, but when Tom saw it, he became terrified and immediately ran away. Lauren had carefully set up traps around the school, including a system for taking pictures. There were small wires placed on the ground, which, when touched, triggered cameras to take photos. During her investigation, Lauren suddenly heard voices from above, repeatedly calling her name. She thought it was just Tom playing a prank, so she headed upstairs, avoiding the wires connected to the cameras. When she reached the top floor, a man suddenly appeared in front of her, accompanied by a woman. The man was holding a gun and pointed it directly at Lauren. Terrified, Lauren panicked and didn't notice the wires under her feet, causing her to trip and set off the camera system. As she fell, photos were taken. When she looked back, the man had disappeared. Confused and anxious about what was happening, Lauren blamed Tom, accusing him of being responsible for the strange occurrences. She went to confront him, but Tom, frustrated and angry, ran off. Lauren was left unable to understand the reason behind these events. Later that night, she went to Robert, who was enjoying a bonfire. When Lauren recovered the photos, she showed Robert a shocking image. The photo, taken when Lauren had fallen, clearly showed the man in front of her. Both Lauren and Robert were startled, as they had thought it was just a prank. But the evidence now made it hard to dismiss. Lauren had always claimed that spirits didn't exist, but with the growing evidence, it was becoming harder to deny. Meanwhile, Robert started hearing strange noises, prompting him to go to Lauren's room. Elsewhere, Lauren was in the guard area, exploring further, when suddenly we see Edward, Robert's driver, appearing, adding another layer to the mystery that Lauren was trying to unravel. Edward had been following Lauren from the beginning with ill intentions. Seizing the opportunity, he suddenly jumped on her and tried to assault her. But just as he was about to do so, something caught his attention, a spirit of a child. This spirit attacked Edward in a horrifying manner, ultimately killing him. Lauren managed to escape and quickly ran back, shouting for Robert. She explained everything to him, telling him how Edward had tried to assault her, but in her attempt to protect herself, she had accidentally caused his death. Robert, now fully aware of what had happened, took care of Edward's body and disposed of it. Lauren then asked Robert to take care of Tom and bring him back. But Robert was confused, asking, "What Tom are you talking about? There are no other children in the school besides us." Lauren was stunned, realizing that Tom, who she had been seeing, was actually not alive. The truth hit her, Tom had died, and what she had been seeing all along was his spirit, which was only visible to her and a few others. Her mind was reeling from this revelation. She rushed to find Tom to get answers to her questions. When she found him, Tom revealed the truth. "I have been here all along. Walter, the boy you saw, could see me, too. But when he saw my true form, he got so scared that he had a heart attack and died." Tom expressed deep regret about Walter's death and told Lauren, "If you want the answers to your questions, look inside the toy house." After giving her this cryptic advice, Tom's spirit disappeared. Lauren, despite the shock, decided to follow Tom's advice and looked inside the toy house. To her astonishment, inside the toy house, she saw a scene from her own childhood. She was taken aback as she saw her family's past, with her father being extremely aggressive and abusive toward her mother. It was clear that her father had wanted a son instead of her. The trauma of this realization began to overwhelm Lauren, revealing the painful truth about her own upbringing. Lauren's father had been extremely abusive towards her mother, and his anger escalated to the point where he sought to kill Lauren. It was revealed that Tom was not just a random spirit but actually Lauren's brother, and their father loved Tom far more than Lauren. In an attempt to escape her father's wrath, Lauren had hidden in the toy house, where Tom was also hiding. The two of them remained silent as their father, holding a gun, searched for Lauren to kill her. Suddenly, the sound of something moving within the toy house caught their father's attention, and he mistakenly fired his gun, thinking Lauren was hiding there. The bullet struck Lauren's shoulder and hit Tom instead, killing him instantly. Seeing this, Tom's father went mad with guilt, realizing his terrible mistake. Unable to live with the grief, he turned the gun on himself and took his own life. These events unfolded before Lauren's eyes, and at such a young age, the trauma of witnessing them caused her mind to spiral. To cope with the horror, she fabricated a story about a lion attack, hoping to bury the painful truth. But the reality was far more sinister, and no matter how hard she tried to escape, she couldn't outrun the truth of what happened. Robert soon learned the truth about Lauren's past and sat with her, explaining that he had witnessed similar experiences with the spirits of his fallen comrades from World War II. He shared that spirits often appear to those who are alone, and it seemed that Walter, the young boy who had seen Tom's spirit, was also isolated. Robert revealed that Tom, who had been haunting the house, was Lauren's brother. His spirit had never left the house. However, Maud's intentions were not as good as they seemed. She drugged Lauren by offering her a drink, telling her that they would both be with Tom forever. As Lauren drank the poison, she realized that Maud had mixed it with a deadly substance. Both Lauren and Robert drank the poison, intending for their spirits to remain in the house after death. But as Lauren was coming to terms with it, she felt more comfortable with Robert, acknowledging that she had found solace in his presence. "If you want to stay with my spirit forever, then I can never be truly happy this way," Lauren realized. At that moment, Tom understood his mistake. He quickly took a strange medicine and gave it to Lauren. After a short time, Lauren had recovered, but poor Tom, unable to bear the guilt, died right there. Lauren promised Tom that she would visit him regularly, but now, she had to live her life with Robert. And so, our story ends here.